You are now gatekeeper of the news, part 2. Journalists no longer decide what goes public, information flows unchecked, filling websites, blogs, and tweets. It's not that fake news is new. Thomas Jefferson, third president of the USA, complained that nothing can now be believed which is seen in a newspaper. Truth itself becomes suspicious by being put into that polluted vehicle. So he was talking about those newspapers before who weren't very truth telling and is calling for reforms. And indeed, somebody actually listened to him and tried to reform, and who actually reformed the newspapers back then, back in the USA during his time. But even then, like in 20th century, 21st century, or even beyond Jefferson, there's a newspapers have committed errors. For example, the Philippine Inquirer back in 2013 has mistakenly posted a fake cover of the Time magazine, and there's this UK newspaper who has been exposing another newspaper of publishing fake news. Yet in today's technological world, we're caught in an informational perfect storm. We can unwittingly contribute to the unpredictability. It can happen when people who use social media fail to check what they repost or retweet without reading for accuracy. So, for example, when Richard Gomez, uh, back in 2018, shared this fake news about the Queen Elizabeth, who calls Duterte a brave man. Okay, so that plays into into what those who produce fake news hope to accomplish. While some believe those engaged in disseminating fake news hope to deceive people, press critic Tom Rosenstiel sees it differently. The goal of fake news, he asserts, is not to make people believe the lie; it is to make them doubt all news. Okay, so this might be really an eye-opening fact for all of you, even for me. So, what are news consumers to do? You and me, what are we supposed to do? How do we decide if we're reading fake news or true news? How can we act as our news gatekeepers? When we know what we inhale with regard to news, we will know what to exhale. This serves as a litmus test in our search for truth and facts. So, how to spot fake news? So, check out the source. Consider source. Click away from the story to investigate the site, its mission, and its contact info. Read beyond the lines. Headlines can be outrageous in effort to get clicks. What's the whole story? Check the author. Do a quick search of the author. Are they credible? Are they real? Supporting the sources. What are the supporting sources? Click on those links. Determine if the info given actually supports the story. Check the date. Reposting of old news stories doesn't mean they're relevant to current events. Is it a joke? Is it satire? Is it outlandish? So research the site and author to be sure. Check your biases. Every one of us have confirmation biases. So consider if your own beliefs could affect your judgment, and ask the experts. Ask a librarian or consult a fact checking site, which we will discuss these fact checking sites later on. So be aware of your biases. Remember that we tend to read, listen, and watch news with our own built-in prejudices. And be open to reading, listening, or watching news sources with other views. There's no need to close the gate, just be sure you know what's flowing in. It matters. Okay, so these are some cognitive biases that screw up your decisions. I think it's nice to cover this one because we have all confirmation biases. So anchoring bias. People are over reliant on the first piece of information they hear. In salary negotiation, whoever makes the first offer establishes a range of reasonable possibilities in each person's mind. Number two, availability heuristic. People overestimate the importance of information that is available to them. A person might argue that smoking is not unhealthy because they know someone who lived to 100 and smoked 3 packs a day. So they must be this person who must have smoked and still stayed healthy or didn't die early is probably the exception. But it doesn't mean that smoking does not harm your health, because there are also cases that people who smoke also die early. The number three, the bandwagon effect. The probability of one person adopting a belief increases based on the number of people who hold the belief. So this this is also like an example of peer pressure. This is a powerful form of group thinking and a reason why meetings are often unproductive. Number four, blind spot bias. Failing to recognize your own cognitive bias is a bias in itself. People notice cognitive and motivational bias much more in others than in themselves. So try to be open minded, try to reflect on yourself, try to self reflect. Don't be too proud of your biases or your beliefs. Maybe you could be wrong. Choice supportive bias. When you choose something you tend to feel positive about, even if that choice has flaws, like how you think your dog is awesome, even if it bites people every once in a while. Okay. Or for example, if you know if this person was nice to you, but is nice, but this person isn't nice to others. So number six, clustering illusion. This is a tendency to see pattern in random events. It is a key to various gambling facilities. Like for example, like I like the idea of the that red is more or less like you turn up on a roulette table after a string of reds. Okay, so there's going to be a time that that ball will going to land on blue. Confirmation bias. We tend to listen only to information that confirms our preconceptions. One of the main reasons it's hard to have an intelligent conversation about climate change. Okay, so there's some people who don't believe in climate change, but scientists say, the experts say that climate change is happening. Number eight, confirmation conservatism bias. And people favor prior evidence over new evidence or information that has emerged. People were slow to accept that the Earth was round because they maintained their earlier understanding that the planet was flat. Okay, so it's okay to change your knowledge if you read that what you have known along for a very long time is wrong. There's another lots a lot of sample of biases that you can read, but I will, for example, like information bias and placebo, but I can I can copy paste this below. Okay, so if we aren't sure about what we're reading, what we're seeing, then let's not share it, says David Panelo, Secretary General of the NUJP, said in TV interview, urging netizens to be more discerning about what they see online. So check out information. Do other sources corroborate what you're reading, viewing, or hearing? Use verification sites such as Snopes, Politifact, Politifact.com, FreedomHouse.org, and FactCheck.org. And in our Filipino versions, we have the Media Commoner on Instagram and Hacktivista.ph and FactCheck.afp and Verifiles. So, okay, so that's the sources of my images and my information sources. Okay, so thank you for listening, and I hope you study this for the evaluation and for the exam.